listening to the Ice Prep Podcast. Here's your hosts, Brian and Pat.
And for those watching, I just say Pat because he was yawning and I decided to not show that. I waited to flip the screen over. He's doing the full-on, like, big yawn, like, uh-oh, it's late at night.
Yeah. It's been a day. It's been a day, a week. I came back from a holiday break, and the first week back from any sort of like vacation or break or whatever. But like on a short week, I'm so confused. Tomorrow feels like it's Wednesday, and I know it's Friday, and I'm glad it's Friday. But also, what's wrong with me?
It's even weirder for me because for the last over year, it's been Monday, Tuesday only that my son has gone to preschool. Now he's there full time, so like dropping him off on Wednesday and Thursday has been like, I don't know what day it is anymore. So yeah, that's been fun. And I mean, the nice thing, the holiday break, we both had all the time off. Happy New Year to everybody. Obviously, we took some time off ourselves. Pat got into a panic last week, messaging me being like, were we supposed to record? I was like, no.
I was already like a vegetable on my couch, and I was just like, I don't want to stand up. I love talking hockey, but also I love sitting on a couch. So it's a tough battle.
I'm pretty sure when you messaged that, my mother-in-law had just like cracked open a new bottle of scotch to do a scotch tasting. So I was like, I had zero interest. I was like, this is the vacation. I'm having scotch.
Yep.
It's the only time I drink scotch.
That's fair. And the week before, you were very much under the weather, so we were gonna try. Yeah, we were gonna try and squeeze in an episode before Christmas, but unfortunately.
Yeah, I had to call in sick that day because my fever, for those who play the Celsius game, was almost 40.
Gross.
Yeah, that was fun. So yeah. Aside from
Merry belated Christmas then, since we did a happy Hanukkah before, and I said that we would talk about Christmas, and then we didn't, and then I came across as kind of a dick. So,
yeah. And of course, for us, it doesn't matter for you guys. We're recording this about an hour later than we normally do because for those watching, we had to watch OT.
Right there.
Had to watch some overtime. Canada over Czechia. Honestly, I know you want to get into some NHL stuff, but I think a few minutes of
course,
what in my recent memory, this has been the most competitive and the best World Junior Tournament that I can remember. From the quality of play, to the fans being unreal. I think it goes to show that as nice as it is being at where the Oilers play for the World Junior Tournament, it sounds so quiet. A barn of 10,000 is what the World Juniors need to be, and I'm pretty sure in Sweden next year it's going to be the same type of feel, like less people. And it's been a while since there's been one over in Europe, so that'll be interesting having like the like 8-9 a.m. Canada games where it's like, do I crack a beer or do I go to work?
Both. No, it was really good. I think it's just evidence that the East Coast needs a team. I think if you had a Halifax team, my goodness, that barn would be just, the lid would blow off every night. I think people would just absolutely love it, especially if you did like a Seattle versus Halifax game. Just the two coasts. I know obviously there's Vancouver, but there's just something about Seattle versus Halifax that just feels right. It'd be the Kraken versus the Lobsters. And
move over, Islanders. There's a new fisherman in town.
Exactly. The Blue Nose. That's what it would be. It would be a giant ship, and the pictures paint itself. But no, it was great. I literally subscribed to TSN so that I could watch the World Juniors, because I felt like it was going to be a hell of a series, and my goodness, was it. It was so good.
Yeah, and like every game, not even just looking at Canada, obviously, not sure if you knew, that is the first time in World Junior history Canada has dropped the opener at home. They
Oh
have
wow.
never done that. Czechia managed to do that, and I'm glad that that was the rematch in the final because a lot of people were like, "Oh, it was just the 5 minute major that Czechia in that opening game was able to get things going." And as the tournament went on, it was like, no, Czechia's good. There's a reason why they beat the U.S. in the quarterfinals in
Hmm.
August, and congrats to them, by the way. First medal since 2001. Um,
They were fantastic. Yursek is going to be an absolute star in this league.
Columbus
Um,
is they're very happy with the way this tournament played out,
yep.
um, and like even still, much props Czechia, Slovakia, unreal, beating U.S. in the groups, and then you and I were messaging back and forth during that game. I didn't think Canada was gonna get out of the quarters, and then Bedard
Yeah.
obviously did his Connor Bedardiest. Um, we're not
Yeah.
we're glossing over the bronze medal game from earlier today,
Yeah.
which I'm pretty sure that was the most
15
goals.
goals?
Was that the most goals in a game this tournament? And normally there's always a blowout where it's like 12-0 or 12-1. That may have been the most goals in a game, and the U.S. gave up a 2-goal lead 3 times.
I really wanted the US to lose because one, we're Canadian, and there's that just bias against the US. That's just born into us. But also, I wanted them to lose on an overturned goal because I wanted Twitter to catch on fire. That would have been the best thing in the world. I would have I wouldn't have been able to sleep. I would have just sat there refreshing my feed over and over just to see the anger because it would be days of it. It'd be amazing. So, but still, congrats to the U.S. team for winning, in my opinion, the award for the team with the best names.
Oh
You've
my
got
God! The
names like Snuggerud, Red Savage, Rutger McGroarty, which is the most it's just say it to yourself. Those that are listening, say Rutger McGroarty to yourself. It does not roll off your tongue. It
and
is
somehow they managed to not mess it up once on the broadcast. Like the U.S.
wonderful.
team was the all name team, like of all time. Like there's the all
Yeah.
hair teams and stuff like that. Some of the best names ever. I'm
Cutter.
obviously happy because Luke Hughes, Devils prospect, gets the bronze there. Um,
I want to ask you about Liu Hughes though, because I know that you were really excited to see him going into this tournament. What were your thoughts going out of this tournament of his play?
it showed that he is way too used to playing against college level opponents
Hmm.
and not players that are like a good amount of players that he played against are already drafted, and he doesn't quite get that the same in college, so he wasn't able to do the same things. And that's, you can teach a player how to break those habits, and I think the Devils will break that out of him very quickly. But the more I watched him and the way he plays, he reminds me so much of Dougie Hamilton, especially his size, the way that he just kind of controls the blue line. So it was like I was fine with it. He never really showed in the pre-tournament. He showed some of the flashes of what has been the highlights, but I think he was kind of, they wanted him to play a little bit different role. But
Yeah.
I, I, yeah, he played a fine tournament.
But that means nothing, to be
Yeah,
honest.
the world
Um,
the World Juniors is a showcase for some, and for others, it's just, yeah.
yeah.
And it to
It's
me it showed that he will be a bit of a project for the Devils because they have to break some of those habits that you can pull this off in college. You can pull this off against other U.S. National Development Program teams.
mhm.
This, you cannot do the spinorama weird goal from your knees in the NHL. You'll get literally like, you'll be injured for months. So
Yeah, it'll be interesting because I mean, if you look back at a lot of the history of the World Junior tournament and some of the standout players, they're not really playing. in the NHL now. So there, I mean, you look at some of them, Lindros and Everly and other ones like I guess this kid named John Tavares and Connor McDavid, but
Yeah, you just never know with the World Juniors what's going to translate where, because obviously,
yeah,
especially with goalies in the World Juniors, you're always voodoo because like
especially European goalies that just do things that are unbelievable and stand on their head, like the one guy from Latvia that nearly stole the game and was like unbelievably good, and then Florida drafted him. I can't remember his name, but
or we'll go way back when to the early 2000s, and this goaltender for Canada named Justin Pogge stole everything, and he's playing over in the German league right now. He was
yeah,
drafted. It managed to get him a 90th overall draft by the Leafs,
wow,
and he played 7 games in the NHL, and that was it. And he's been in Germany since. He's had half decent numbers, average 844 over his career, but there's obviously earlier on in his career he did not do very well. Oh no, that just says NHL total, so that was his NHL numbers. But it's so weird. But you know for a fact that the Canadian goalie Milic
hmm
and the Czech goalie, I can't remember his name, I apologize. They're both going to get not passed over this time,
yeah.
and they're both very good goalies, but they may never see the ice until they're 26, 27. But that's standard in the NHL.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's
It's rare to see a goalie play early. Like,
yeah.
not everybody's
Carter Hart,
Otter or Carter Hart or Matt Murray or Tristan Jarry. Now, obviously, 2 of those are from the same team, and that's because they had to. But, yeah.
I mean, you want to look like if you want a really good example of it, you do look at Carter Hart. He came into the World Juniors and he played out of his mind and he was wonderful, and everyone was like, Philly's gonna win it all, and then they haven't. Not that they didn't, they haven't. And it's taken him years to get to a point where like he's in a conversation for, oh, he's a pretty good goalie, eh? Yeah, I know he is really good. Like it's been a while since we've been able to say Carter Hart has looked good on the ice. So it takes time. Goalies are like a fine wine. The older they are, the better they are is generally the way that it goes.
It's kind of the
And
same with defensemen. Like, it's very
yeah,
rare. There's very few defensemen in the NHL that are under like 25, 26 that are mainstays on their team. Now, obviously, the ones that are, we know all of their names because they're
mhm.
essentially either Norris caliber defensemen or they're third line pairings until they end up on another team, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, how could they let Devon Taves go?" Um,
For 2 seconds,
it's
two.
just how it goes. Um,
Holy Lou, were you drunk? One last thing on the World Juniors. I
yes,
want to do one last shout out. I know, obviously, we talked a bit about Bedard, and I think that everybody knows how great he's looked. He's looked fantastic. That overtime goal, what a joke. That was unbelievable. Holy. But the one player that made me so happy on the ice the entire friggin' time was Dylan Gunther. I've been singing his praises for a bit. I think that he was going like Arizona got a diamond with him, and he really showed that with the right players supporting him, like with talent with him, he is talented. He does the Ovi. He sits at the top of the circle and he snipes it. And the thing is, anybody can do that. Anybody can sit at the top of the circle and smack their stick on the ice, but he's doing it accurately. That's the difference with him is he can do that very accurately, very well. And under pressure, he has performed. And
and
that is what you want out of a player.
And luckily for Arizona, they've got a captain there who is very good at setting up players like that, and Clayton Keller. Um,
And I hope he watches the tape. It's as simple as that. So big on Dylan Genther. He got the game winning goal. He got
golden goal.
the golden goal, and he was just like, yeah, that was pretty cool, huh? Yeah, that was great. Just very modest, very humble. Looked like he was enjoying himself. I don't know. I have high hopes for that kid. I hope that he really, really takes off in the league, and I hope that Arizona trades him and somehow Seattle gets the first round draft pick, so we get to see Shane Wright, Connor Bedard, and Dylan Guenther all playing on a line. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I know you said I just want to touch there. I honestly think that Shane Wright has been battling an injury. Watching him play this tournament, I don't know, or there's just who knows.
He
I
looked
hope
good in this game, though.
he did.
He looked really good.
He
in this
looked
game.
very good. The for a lot of the tournament though, he had some flashes.
Yeah.
But I can't remember if I was saying this to you or somebody else that when you're that high of a draft pick and you're doing another stint in the World Juniors, you should be the standout player on your team. Yes, Connor Bedard, when he steps into the NHL, will probably be a top 5, top 10 player almost immediately. But you should be showing him what's what. And it was the Bedard show the entire tournament.
Yeah, but I mean, Bedard, he is
McDavid
good.
McDavid never did this at 17. That's what's crazy.
But like Bedard is a natural scorer. Bedard is a natural playmaker. Shane Wright is a playmaker first.
Yeah.
So as much as Dylan Guenther was great, he was great on the power play. And there is some 5-on-5 work that he needs to do. And he was his winger. And then he also had Roy. And or was it
Wah,
Roy or was it Wah? Okay.
He's a Quebecois.
Cool. So they also had Wah. And he looked really good. And Othman as well was another one that had him on the wing, and he looked really good. And I feel that the reason that the two of them stood out so much is because they were benefiting from the work that Wright was doing that was unsung. And I'm not trying to be like, you're wrong and he's the best and I love him. No, he definitely needed to do more, but at the same time he showed up when he needed to, and that's all that mattered.
He was reliable, and that may have been more his role than anything else. Like, I'm saying all this, and his role from the coach may have been, don't be the superstar. We have that. Be Mr. Reliable for us. Yeah. And so
be consistent. Do the right things. Don't be stupid. Let Bedard be fancy. And if he screws up, we know we can rely on you.
Yeah, I'm very, what has me more curious about anything, two things post-tournament. One, obviously, will the NHL rig it for Bedard to go to Chicago? Please, no. And
don't let them get it.
Does Seattle give Wright another shot? Because they don't necessarily need Bedard right now. Or not Bedard, sorry, Wright. But, because obviously they dummied Toronto tonight, the night that we're recording this. But at the same time, if they've seen him play in a different role than what they were kind of expecting him, maybe he gets third line minutes instead of fourth. We'll have to see what happens there. But we'll jump from there. I know you did want to talk a little bit in the NHL, and particularly about a team that just lost after putting, 67 shots on net tonight?
Did they lose?
Yeah, they lost that game.
Man, I wanted to talk about the Carolina Hurricanes, because guess what team we haven't talked about pretty much at all this season? That's the Carolina Hurricanes.
Not just the Carolina Hurricanes, the far and away #1 metropolitan Carolina Hurricanes, because the Devils have been, say it with me, bad.
But so Carolina has just been captain consistent. They just start putting up numbers. Yeah, they'll lose a game, but then they'll, not lose a game in like 16, or they're like or I think it was 16 games without a point, or 16 games without. Geez, I'm just ruining all of this.
Here, I'll help you out with something. They're one of 3 teams in the league that have single digit in the loss column.
Yeah.
Can you name the other 2? I know one's obvious. Oh, you're looking at it. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm
Boston
cheating.
and Toronto. They are quiet. Like, as weird as it is, they are quietly having an unreal season where they are second in the league currently.
Hmm.
Patches officially played his first game tonight. Not sure how he looked because obviously we were watching the World Juniors.
Hmm.
Obviously, the Canes look great because they had 67 shots and lost. Sometimes you get UC Saros. It's just the way it is.
Hmm. No,
Um,
it's it's so interesting because no one's really talking about them because there hasn't been like a supremely standout player. The one that's putting up the points, I thought it was going to be Aho. I thought we were going to see his name quite a bit this year. I felt like, I don't know, my gut was saying he was going to have a little bit of a breakout year. Nope. But someone on the team is, and that is Svechnikov. He is having a time. He looks fantastic on the ice. I watched a game a couple days ago. I can't remember who it is against, but whew, he's a different player on the ice. He looks so good out there. And Brent Burns, he's activating up front. They are using him properly. When I was watching him play, he was net front present at one point.
I
A
think what
defenseman.
I think what it's showing, and you look at Carlson, they are such similar players that San Jose couldn't utilize either properly. Now that
No.
they're separated, there's a reason why both of them are having amazing seasons. There was
Mhm.
just like too much of a good thing almost. And like it's great to see the revival of Burns. It's great to see the revival of Carlson. Carolina still obviously as great as they're doing. They still have that goalie controversy that they're trying to figure out going into the playoffs because they paid all that money for Frederick Anderson, and they still don't know what to do with them. Um,
Well, I mean, why would you start him when you have Piotr, who has played 16 games, won 10, and had four losses in overtime. He has a save percentage of 924, a goals against average of 208, which puts him in second place behind Linus Allmark. Um, yeah, they look really good. They look really, 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 really good. And I hope it's not a Nedeljkovic situation where he's just over-indexed because the defenseman in front of him. But
well, no matter
whew,
what, with Carolina, the defensemen in front are gonna add some. They're gonna pad your stats a little bit. Hey, get that? That's a goalie pun. Um,
do you want to point something out while I'm looking at the goaltenders? Who's number 3 for goals against average? And
um,
number 4 for save percent. You're never going to guess it. But he was in the goaltender coach system.
it's not Vamelka, is it?
No, but you're on the right track. He was from Ottawa. He is in Minnesota. It is Philip Gustafson. He
Oh,
played for Ottawa right as soon as they brought in the goalie coach from Arizona that I said was going to be a game changer. And look what's happened. Look at the goalies that he is training. This I can't even remember his name. I need to have a shrine of this man behind me because I've been talking about him for 2 friggin' seasons. This guy is a machine, and no one talks about it. As soon as they leave him, they're like, "Oh, okay, we just needed a better team in front of us." And look what happens. I'm losing my mind.
we'll go from that because we can talk about another former Arizona goalie. I know another team that you wanted to
Ottawa.
talk about. Um, oh, sorry, Ottawa. I was thinking back. Another team that you wanted to talk about that we wrote off as being done.
Yep.
They are the first wild card team right now. They are 1 point out of being second place in the Metro. And don't look now, but Ovechkin is ridiculously on track to pass Gretzky like next season at this rate in goals.
Mm-hmm.
Washington
Yeah.
is back, and that is scary.
Yeah.
They were
They
supposed to be done.
Yeah, no, Charlie Lindgren and Darcy Kemper, it took them a little bit. And again, it happens all the time. You look like Ottawa, they're starting to climb back up a bit too. Like they've won quite a few games in the past little bit. They're starting to creep in. And
Do you know,
it
it's
just takes time. It takes time to get used to the people in front of you. They have 2 new goalies. Of course, they're going to be rocky out of the gate.
do you know
What
what
are you saying?
you know what my favorite thing is every single time I look at Ottawa? Do you know what team is behind them in the standings?
Is it Buffalo?
No, don't look, Pat. I need you to guess.
Columbus.
They've got no. They've got a $10 million goalie.
Oh, Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Florida is below Buffalo, Detroit, and Ottawa. If it wasn't for Montreal, Florida would be the last place team in the Atlantic.
Well, I mean, Florida, they're just gonna go for Bedard. Oh, wait. They can't because their first round draft pick is Montreal's.
And they are stupid and didn't lottery protect it. And Montreal would have still agreed if it was lottery protected. That's why
And
you
what did they
always
get
top
for it?
3.
They got nothing.
Yeah, he plays for
They have-
Detroit now.
They have nothing to show for giving away that draft pick. Not even a second round.
Yep.
They didn't even make it to the friggin' second round. Or did they?
No, they got
can't
swept
remember.
by Tampa in the second round, didn't they?
Oh, right, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they didn't
But even
make
still.
it far in the second round. They didn't get a win. Yeah, that's an aside. Do we want to continue on that, or do we want to go back to Washington? Because I know you did want to talk a little bit of the Caps.
I wanted to ask your opinion on, do you think it's sustainable?
For the Caps?
The Caps. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Capitals.
They're
Yeah?
getting their players, Backstrom coming back, Wilson coming back. They're figuring things out, as you said. Their goalies are figuring out the system in front of them. And they are, as it stands right now, they have one of the best goals for in the league. Their goals against is up there, but it's starting to kind of creep down a little bit. They have an unreal record at home. They're 7-1-2 in their last 10. I think that team, because of Ovechkin tying and then getting ahead of Gordie Howe, I think the team was literally, that was what was holding them back. Because that was this huge thing hanging over. The second they did that, they've just gone. I mean, obviously they lost the other night against Buffalo because Tage Thompson did his Tage Thompsonist, getting a hat trick to win the game in overtime. But we were right to say Washington is done.
Yep.
Washington showed that as long as Ovechkin is breathing and skating, don't count them out. It's the exact same thing as long as Crosby can still skate, don't count out Pittsburgh. They're 2 points out of a wild card spot right now. That's another team that we were like, they're done. The Metro has a new look to it. And at this point, as a Devils fan, my prediction of them not making the playoffs is probably going to be very true.
See, I disagree. I know it seems like Washington is hitting their stride and they're going to keep going. The reason they're hitting their stride is because the top tier teams are hitting their valley. So every single season, you look at Edmonton is a perfect example of this, of peaks and valleys. They hit their peak at the start of the season and they crush it. They come out so friggin' good. As long as Jack Campbell's not in that, they come out so good and they just put up these numbers that are absurd. Connor McDavid always plays out of his mind and they win. Then usually it's close to the All-Star break. Connor McDavid is playing out of his mind, putting up ridiculous numbers, and then they lose somehow like 9-7. That's just kind of what happens. There's a little bit of a regression, and then the teams that were struggling a bit, maybe like mid-tier, they pick it up a bit because they're consistent. They're consistently mid, but they start to look consistently good because the other teams over-indexed. They need to rest. They need to get healthy players again, and then they come back, and then they kill it right at the end. I don't think Washington is going to make the playoffs.
We'll have to see, because January is one of those months that it's very interesting to see what happens. February is where playoff runs go to die, because it is typically the worst months for teams that if they're not going to make the playoffs, you'll see them fall off in February.
Yep.
It's that slog, that just really rough point of the season before we get to the trade deadline. And yeah, historically, teams that have been doing that are in a playoff spot by American Thanksgiving, it's like 80%, I believe, that it stays that way. If, as long as Washington can have either goaltender stay healthy, I think they stand a chance. Will they be top 3 in the Metro? No. Will they stand a chance in the wild card? Absolutely, because I think the Metro is going to have both wild card spots this year. I don't see Buffalo, Detroit, Ottawa, or Florida making up the points on either Washington, New York, Pittsburgh, New Jersey, or New York Rangers.
I think Buffalo or Ottawa, one of those two, they're going to make it in, and I still believe that it's going to be Ottawa.
I would love to see either Ottawa or Buffalo make it in.
And that's such a long shot. I mean, if I put money on that, I'd make a lot of money because the odds are so slim.
Ryan Reynolds would love you for that, by the way.
It just feels like Buffalo. You look at it, you've got Tage Thompson, he's sitting at 55 points. You got Alex Tuck, he's sitting at 42 points. No one's talking about that. You've got Skinner, he's sitting at 39 points. He's having a great season. Maybe not up to his contract level, but he's still having a great season. Or no, it is kind of up to his contract level, but even still.
I'm trying to think. Sorry, going back to Ottawa, I can't remember who's injured for them right now that is not going to be back anytime soon, and I think that's where the problem for the Senators lie. Why can't I think of who it is?
I can't remember.
Ottawa Senators LTIR. I'm going to look it up.
Okay, I'm going to just sit here and ramble while Brian looks up something. I don't have anything to talk about, but just listen to my... Okay,
I think it's Sanderson is one that I'm thinking of.
Oh, yeah, he was having a really good year this year.
Yeah, and without him, little bit of trouble for...
They're doing really well in their
right
past
now,
10.
yeah. Past 10. And you sent me the StatMuse thing earlier, and I was like, look at the PK percent. Last 10, they have the best penalty kill in the league.
Yeah, by a lot.
That
it's in the 90s.
That is another one of those things that nobody is talking about. And they're playing the exact same they were last year, but they are getting a little bit of goaltending behind them in that no lead is safe for either team. They are a 0 differential right now. They have 116 goals for, 116 goals against. If Ottawa can get some semblance of a run going and that sale happens and somebody like Ryan Reynolds does come into the mix, yeah, there will be a ridiculous energy, but I don't know if that happens this year. I don't know if they have enough to dig themselves out of the rut that they started. They're not far, but the Islanders aren't slowing down.
Unfortunately.
And then Buffalo's playing better than they are. Pittsburgh is playing better than they are. Washington is. So
Pittsburgh can't keep it up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're not going to catch. You're not going to catch Boston. Obviously, you're not going to catch the Leafs, and you're not going to catch Tampa. So you're hoping either the Caps or the Islanders fall off the face of the earth.
The Caps will.
That's the one potential, but then you're also
and the Islanders are one injury away.
We'll see what happens, but I would love to see Ottawa make it in or Buffalo. Detroit, I don't think does.
Yeah.
I still think Detroit ends up with Bo Horvat in the offseason. And Dylan Larkin won't be there anymore.
Yeah. I forgot that we said that. I like the more I hear it, the more I like it.
And talking with family on over the Christmas break that kind of knows a little bit of the family because they live out that way. There's a lot of talk that he wants to be close to home.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What's the closest place to home to Rodney? Detroit.
Yeah, it's either he's going to go to Detroit or somehow Buffalo.
I don't think so because he would want to be a 1C, And you and I, like, the roadmap is there for
Yeah.
Larkin to be gone. He wants too much money. He's
Yeah.
not an Yzerman-style player. Bo Horvat is an Yzerman-style player in my
And I
eyes.
feel like Horvat would take a little bit of a discount to be permanently close to his family. He seems very family oriented and he wants to be close by, like you said. So I could see him, maybe not like a colossal one, but if Larkin's like, I want 9.5, Horvat could be like, I'm happy with 8.5.
Yeah, or like 7.5 or 8 and sit there
Yeah.
for 7 years. Yeah. I'm still standing by that one. I have zero inside information on it. That to me is just where it makes the most sense. We talked about it before. I think Larkin's gone. I think
Yeah.
Horvat comes in. They get a true number 1C. And
But don't forget, as we learned, that close to home is also like 500 miles away from home if you go by the Goudreau standards.
Gaudreau wanted out of Canada, though, because of the border stuff with the pandemic. That's
Yeah,
more
but
of what it
New
was.
Jersey and Philly? Come on.
Philly never offered him anything, so
I know.
he
but
was
they
never
could've.
going to Philly. He wanted them to. They never did. There's before we'll wrap things up here shortly. The one other team we've kind of talked off and on about them throughout this that I know you really wanted to mention is so we've got the roller coaster of Buffalo in the East. They go
And it's
up,
like
they
the
go
wooden,
down.
but it's a wooden roller coaster where it's like click, 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 click. And then it's the slow, like,
And the latch, like
a,
as much as it sits there and you think that it's stable, you can lift it up more than you think you should.
and the angle of the roller coaster, like you go fast, but it's like, okay, yeah, you're at like a 42-degree angle, whereas the Seattle Kraken are, that I think it's the Hulk roller coaster, where it's like magnet propelled upwards and you shoot up and then it like curls all the way around and it just comes straight down. It's like 90 degrees, or is it
I
like
think that's Superman.
or it's something, or there's like the drag race one where it's just like,
Yeah.
that's the Seattle Kraken. They're just like, we crush it in 2 games, and then we also lose and get blown out like crazy. And we're gonna beat the Leafs and the Oilers like they're nothing, and then we're going to lose to like Arizona. Like they are so inconsistent, and it is wonderful. It is so much fun to watch those games because you have no idea what's about to happen.
Yeah, it's everybody got Seattle wrong this year, and I love it.
Everyone got them wrong, and everyone got them right.
Yeah, the Pacific right now is so fun to look at because it's Vegas. Everybody's like, okay, yeah, Vegas, come back. We called LA from a mile away. We called LA before they made it to the playoffs last year. When their climb started, we were both on the lookout for LA train.
Do you know who's their goalie right now?
Oh, it's not Peterson. It's the other guy. I can't remember. I saw
believe
something
it's
on it.
Phoenix Copley.
Yes, it is
And
Phoenix Copley.
He has a 901 save percentage, and they are 9-1. They literally just needed basic goaltending.
Here's the thing with LA. They're the only team in a playoff spot with a negative goal differential. That's all you need to know.
Love it.
And then, of course, oh, look, Wild Card 1 and Wild Card 2. Calgary and Edmonton, 3 and 4 points back of Seattle, and Seattle has games in hand. Huh. It's almost like having a bad goaltender if you play in Alberta means you can't outscore your problems.
Yeah. It's weird. And I still think it's weird that Calgary's goaltending has looked so bad.
Markstrom's just having an off year. I hope it comes back.
It happens.
The Avs are finally getting your players back. I know McKinnon's back now. You're not in a playoff spot, but your team is 19, 14, and 3. That is workable with having all of your players starting to come back. The Minnesota Wild cannot sustain what they're doing.
No, they're way over-indexed.
And Dallas is going to Dallas this year. Apparently, all they needed was a coach that focused on defense to be like, I hate defense.
Yep.
And Winnipeg being like, we need a new coach. How about that guy from Dallas that really liked to focus on defense? And now he doesn't want to focus on defense. And
Josh Morrissey's just like, look what I can do.
The Josh Morrissey, the defenseman that I randomly saw at Pearson on my way to my honeymoon a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Weird. Yeah, no, this year
The
has
weird
been
things
wonky.
I still can't believe I called the Jets being in a playoff spot, and I also called them getting Bedard.
Yeah, I was going to scroll, but my mouse has died, so I can't. I was going to look and see what our numbers were as I point to a screen that no one can see, or the people listening, they can't see anything. But even still, this year has been so weird. I literally had Florida in second place, and they are in second last in their division. It's all over the place, and I love it. I have said from day one, I want the most chaotic results, and this year, it's coming true. Although I want the Avs to do better, but if they miss the playoffs because of injuries, so be it. It happens. That happened to Vegas last year, and look at them now. They got healthy. They look good. Playoff or Stanley Cup runs is such a toll on the body. Nichushkin has not recovered.
Yeah, so. The fact that Tampa is still doing as well as they are after 3 consecutive Stanley Cup finals is a testament to whatever is in the water down in Tampa Bay. Okay. I don't know what the okay was for. Like, are you going somewhere? You're just like, okay, I agree.
What? No, I said cocaine.
Oh, cocaine. Yeah, that too. That too. Though I think that would be more Miami way.
It trickles upwards, probably. I don't know.
Jesus, Pat.
Are we switching to games of the week?
Yeah, I got nothing.
Let's do this. Games of the week.
I don't know what my last one was, and I don't care. That's last year Brian's problem.
I'm going to quickly run through them just because that is what I do. Okay. And so you chose December 18th, Winnipeg versus Seattle. Seattle won that 3-2. And I chose Monday, December 19th, Buffalo versus Vegas, the redemption game. And it's 3-2 for Buffalo. So we both picked a 3-2 game, which is kind of fun. Brian, you start. You start this time. What have you chosen for this week's game of the week?
Tuesday is where I'm going with it. I was looking at the Devils Canes, and I was like, no, I don't want to pick the game of the week being one where the Devils are going to get absolutely slaughtered. Instead, I'm going for the next game on that list, which is 2 teams that we focused on a little bit this episode. The Seattle Kraken, still on their East Coast road trip, taking on the Buffalo Sabres. So the roller coasters in action against each other.
Ooh, I like that.
And I had that one set up before we even started to talk about those teams being compared to each other. So that should be a good game. Both teams are like Ottawa, except they're good. They can put up a lot of goals, but win.
Yeah.
Ottawa is getting wins, but that Tuesday night, 7:00, I think that should be, that'll probably at the very least be the best game of that night.
Okay. So I went for something a little different. These aren't teams I would normally choose to be a game of the week, but for some reason my gut says that it's going to be, and I don't know why. And that is Sunday, January 8th at 7 p.m., Pittsburgh versus Arizona. Genther, that should be his game back in Arizona because they play on Friday. Meaning tomorrow. I highly doubt as a 19-year-old he is going to be sober enough to play tomorrow.
Well, those East Coast fans, if any of those kids are legal age, because if they're not, they wouldn't give them drinks. They're going to get those players. They probably won't remember what their names are like 10 minutes ago.
No. So Gunther is going to be back on the ice most likely in Arizona. And I'm really curious to see with this new fire in him, if he can really just come back with a heater. And Arizona has looked decent. Not bad, not good, but they've been taking down some giants. I mean, obviously Colorado's really hurt, but they still beat them. They beat Toronto pretty handily. I don't know.
Arizona on the road, 6-16-3.
Okay, so they've
Arizona
yep.
at Mullet Arena, 7-3-2. They at home have taken down some of the best teams in the league.
Mhm.
If you didn't watch, I know a lot of people obviously watched that Leafs game the other night in Arizona where Arizona beat them. Even if you just watch the highlights, we ragged on Mullet Arena. That atmosphere is unreal. And oh my God, I love seeing the shadows on the ice from the
I
players.
have to say,
I
the
love it.
the irony of you complaining about Mullet Arena being so small and then saying, boy, a small crowd is super good to watch hockey in with the World Juniors. That's what it is. It's a World Juniors vibe. It's this small crowd that is just dedicated. They want blood, and it is great. So I'm really excited for that one. I think that's going to be a really fun game. And Karel Vejmelka, he is one of the better goaltenders in the league, and going up against most likely Casey DeSmith. Tristan Jarry, I think, might be out. I'm not 100% sure. He looked a little rocky.
He's out.
In the Winter Classic, which we didn't even talk about. But I know it was fun, but meh. And yeah, so I think that'll be a solid game. So that's a 7 p.m. start too, so that's kind of fun.
So either of those good ones, honestly, I would, of the two, if you have the chance, I know that it's the final week of the NFL, but take a peek at least what the Mullet Arena games look like. Just don't watch it on the Arizona feed because they make everything very blue for some reason.
Yeah.
So
weird.
watch the Pittsburgh feed if you can find that. But the shadows on the ice, it is so cool.
It feels like an outdoor game every game, which is an outdoor game in a small arena every game. It's pretty fun. I don't know.
It's good.
I wish we could go. I wish we could go and just watch a game there, but the tickets are absurd because there's only 4,000 seats.
And it sucks because we can fly there for so cheap. We can literally swoop to Arizona for like next to nothing, but it would cost so much money.
I know. And there's probably no hotels nearby. It's all dorm rooms.
I mean, Airbnb a dorm room, wouldn't that be fun?
Oh God, we'd kill each other. Anyway, so that's the games of the week.
And that's the episode for the week.
Cool.
Yeah. We went a little longer than we wanted, but that's okay. Hopefully, as we said off the top, everybody had a good New Year. Once again, check your Unreal Tournament. That is probably the craziest I've seen a team play. I hope a lot of those players on that team, some of them are already on NHL deals. I hope they dominate when they get there. And I hope your team stays as good in the future because the World Juniors are better when any team can win any night.
Yep. No, you are completely correct. And I'm trying to pull up the name because it is completely escaping me, which is ridiculous.
David Yurchek?
No. It is football related. The Buffalo.
Hamlin. Why can't I think of his first name?
Yeah.
Marcus Hamlin, I believe. Marcus Hamlin?
So, yeah, I know we're coming to a close, but with all the news, hopefully the people, if you are listening, you didn't see the play that caused
Damar Hamlin. Sorry.
Yeah. So with Hamlin going down from the Buffalo, I keep going to Sabres. Oh my goodness, what's wrong with me? Bills. Oh my God. I need to go to bed. But with Buffalo Bills, I hope that you didn't see the video. It's jarring to see it, and it's deeply upsetting. But really good news to hear today that he was awake. He was able to write. He was able to move his hands. It'll be most likely a long process to come back, but a huge thanks to the people that saved his life. the first responders, those that did whatever needed to be done in the hospital, just everything. It's the sport should go away and the human should come out. And I'm glad that the teams realized immediately football doesn't matter, people do. And no matter the sport, it's good to hear that he is on at least what appears to be on the mend. And I hope for a speedy and a full recovery for him. That's
That's where it's been amazing to see RG3 Robert Griffin III. He was like one of the loudest voices on just the response, like send all the love to the first responders for what they did. And that, like, his tweets lately have been just taking off, and they're all in support for that. So that's been good to see. And it seems like the NFL might be doing something before every single game this weekend to recognize Damar Hamlin. So there's that, which is nice to see.
And I also hope my thoughts are with Higgins, the person who it really was it was pure coincidence that this happened, but it was his helmet that appears to have caused whatever happened. I hope that he is able to get some help, because that is not something that any human can just shrug off. That is going to really do some damage mentally. So I'm really hopeful that he's taking care of himself and he's got good support for his own personal mental health, because that is something. So that's a heavy burden. So yeah.
Well, we'll leave it there. We will talk to everybody again next week. Week after that, we won't have an episode because I won't be in the country. So,
boo.
So we'll talk to everybody next week. Canada gets gold once again, back to back. And next time it's in Sweden, so we will get to watch the games early in the day.
Sounds amazing to me.